Hello, this is Photography Gamer. Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a review for you. It's an indie title. The game is called Door Kickers Action Squad. It's developed by Kill House Games and Pixel Shard. The game is a side-scrolling tactical shooter where you play as a hostage recovery team and you have to basically go into these buildings or locations, take out all of the bad guys and save the hostages if you can. That's basically it. Rinse and repeat through the entire game doing that kind of thing. So there are 6 playable characters, all with different abilities that you can develop. For example, you've got an assaulter who's particularly good with guns, you've got breachers who can take down doors quickly, and you have others with shields, ones that are a little bit more stealthy. You know, it just depends what style you want to go for depending on what character you choose, but they're not massively different, but they all have little quirks that make them slightly unique. Each playable character has a skill tree that you can fill up over time as you level up through, killing baddies and saving hostages. So you can become more of a specialist in like medical elements or accuracy, or you can also buy weapons and accessories with the stars. Every time you finish a level you get 1, 2 or 3 stars depending on how well you've done it. You can then use those stars to buy a new gun or buy grenades, for example, or other things that will help you through the levels. The game has 3 game modes with 84 different levels. The classic mode is broken down into chapters with around 12 levels in each chapter. You have to make your way through each level, and if you make it to the final level you've got to capture the kingpin of the organization in order to complete the entire chapter. Then you have the zombie invasion mode, which it's basically the same as classic mode but with zombies thrown in for good measure. It basically makes completing the levels a little bit harder due to there's like a zombie portal appears in the level at some point, and then all zombies start to appear. Some of the people you kill change into zombies, some of the hostages change into zombies. So it's the same game essentially as the main game, but you just have an extra element to make it a little bit more tricky. Then finally you have Infinity Tower mode. Now this one is very challenging. Basically it's like Die Hard. You have to enter a very large building on the first floor and kill your way up as far as you can go. But the enemies are elite level and it's probably best to leave this mode until you've completed the other 2 modes, because you need to be at a high level tactically in terms of how you play the game, but also in terms of your gear, because otherwise you will just get wiped out very quickly here. But the Infinity mode, it's essentially what it says on the tin. It is just an endless tower, so there is no end, so you can just keep going. So what is the gameplay like? Well, it's kind of like Rainbow Six Siege meets Broforce. Like when I first saw the game running, it reminded me a lot of Broforce, which kind of made me want to buy it. But it's a lot more strategic than Broforce. It's a lot more, you have to be measured in your approach. You really have to pick your shots and choose your approach in levels, otherwise you'll get taken out very quickly. But once you master the precise firing mechanics, timing your reloads, door breaching and using your power-ups at the right time, once you do that, you'll start to motor through the levels quite quickly. Speaking of power-ups, every time you take down an enemy you'll fill up a gauge, and when that gauge reaches a certain point you can then buy body armor, you can buy health packs, you can buy an extra life and other things that help you through the level, but you have to kind of do that live within the actual gameplay. So if you forget about it you might miss out on some goodies that will help you finish the level. The enemies are all standard fare. You've got your general thugs, extremists, terrorists, like ex-military trained combatants, and they all get harder the further you go up in the game. So at the start it's pretty chilled, but it doesn't take that long for the difficulty to spike up, and then you really have to think about your strategy and how you approach each room individually, because you can never actually see what's in the room before you go in, so it always has that element of unpredictability. There's quite a few unique elements to the game, like you can use cover fire, so there are boxes dotted around and you can just hide behind them and they can't shoot you. So it's kind of useful when you get later on in the level, because early on you can get away with just run and gun, but once they get a lot harder that's not going to work. There's a lot of different ways to approach the missions, which is kind of interesting. So it gives you an element of freedom. It's not linear. It is, but it gives you some degree of freedom to choose the way you want to do it, which I like. And the game also has couch co-op, which is really something that I think all games should have, but most don't, because most AAA companies are assholes. But this is an indie title, and the indies always go for co-op. It really adds another level of strategy because you can choose two completely different characters that can really complement each other. But overall, the gameplay, it's really enjoyable and strategic and pretty fast paced at times, but it can also be quite, methodical depending on how you want to do it. It does take a little while to get used to the controls and make the most effective use of the power-ups. Learn how to breach correctly. But once you master those elements, you will be very, very slick, and you'll be taking terrorists out and rescuing hostages like an absolute expert. The graphics are retro in style and they look nice and colourful. There was a minor bit of slowdown I noticed on occasions with the main character's movements, but it was more jerky than slowdown. It was very minimal though, it wasn't a massive issue. The environments are well structured and they really make you think about your approach when you're infiltrating the buildings. So overall, the graphics are solid and fun rather than being groundbreaking, but this is a retro style game, so that's the intention of the developers really. The music in the game, it's kind of retro 80s sort of cheesy stuff, but it's not annoying. It's actually quite nice. It just sits in the background, almost acting as ambience really, because there isn't much ambience. There's sound effects and music. There isn't really any sort of other sound going on, not that's very noticeable anyway. The gun sound effects are really good. They all sound different depending on the gun you're using. They sound very meaty. The voices and other sounds that sort of come into the levels, they're well done, and at times they can be quite funny and amusing, like when the terrorists come out with some lines and the hostages say a few things. So simple but fun. Okay, so what's good and what's bad about Door Kickers Action Squad? What's good? It's a challenging, strategic game that still retains an element of fun. It's great fun couch co-op or online co-op. The characters all have different skills, so it adds a real variety to different playthroughs, and you can develop those skill trees as you go through. There are lots of levels to do, so you're really getting good value for money, good bang for your buck with this one. What's bad? Once you finish the main campaign in solo mode and in the zombie mode, it's not as interesting to play through a second or third time, but that's where the couch co-op or online co-op comes in. That really addresses that issue. So that's really the only negative. To be honest, there wasn't a lot I could say I didn't enjoy about the game. So what do I think overall? I really enjoyed playing it, albeit at first it was a little bit tricky to learn the controls and the method in order to progress. But once the penny dropped and I got the hang of it, I absolutely loved it and I was just totally addicted and hooked. So who should buy it? If you enjoy retro games, if you enjoy shooters, strategic games, games where you can co-op online, games where you can co-op with a friend on the couch, if you like fun strategy shooters, this is a game that you will really, really enjoy, and I would strongly recommend it. If you're not into retro games and you're not into the shooters and the kind of kitsch retro stuff, probably don't bother, but even then you still might like it because it is really good fun. So what is the score? The score out of 10, well, I really enjoyed it. I've been playing it solid for a few days and I'm going to continue to play it solid because it's really enjoyable. My score out of 10 is 8.5 out of 10. It's good value for money, it's fun, it's challenging, it's strategic, it's interesting to develop characters and learn your strategies. And there's plenty of levels, plenty of gameplay, and you've got the Infinity Tower, which is kind of like an endless game where you can just keep trying to get to the top, but you never will. There's plenty to do, definitely recommend it. So that was Door Kickers Action Squad. Thank you for watching the review. If you liked it, please like the video, click on the bell, subscribe, comment, whatever takes your fancy. Thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. This is Photography Gamer signing off. Thank you.